and welcome back to Between Two Torches. I'm Elliette Barrows, and today I'm joined by Terrence Theus, a junior graphic design major here at Lasell. Welcome, Terrence.
What's happening? Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So to start, just to look at Lasell as a school, why did you choose to come here?
I chose to come here because my mom actually works at Lasell Village. Yeah.
Oh.
So just was a really good financial opportunity for me. Also, I got highly recommended by my graphic design teacher in high school, and she raved about the graphics program here.
So you're from the area?
I am from the area, yeah.
Okay. And what made you choose graphic design as a major? What inspired you?
Interestingly enough, since like the third grade, I've always wanted to be a graphic designer. I lived in Dorchester, and that's a predominantly black environment. But there was like this one person who was just like sort of like an outlier, and he was a graphic designer as a profession. And if you can imagine, you know, seeing someone else just doing something entirely different than what I'm accustomed to, like I was just super just inspired by that. So yeah, since then I've been always wanted to be a graphic designer.
So you had the opportunity to intern with a nonprofit called All in Energy as a social media manager and a graphic designer. Mm-hmm. What was this experience like?
It was beautiful. It was literally all I could have ever hoped and wanted for in an internship. Basically what All in Energy is they educate and provide opportunities for low-income communities, predominantly POC areas, such as Lawrence, Methuen, and all, you know, encompassing areas, opportunities to get involved in and also just educate them about solar powered alternatives, basically. Because if you could imagine, there's not many, you know, people of color in the, you know, clean energy industry. So we help educate them so they can have, you know, careers in these fields, as well as get them involved in just like, you know, lowering their electricity bills, you know, showing them alternatives.
And how did you find this internship? Like, what drew you to it?
I actually found it through the program Social Innovation for a Change, or a Semester in the City. And I just found that just like walking about my freshman year, like, you know, I just saw like a poster and I was just like drawn to it. I was like, you want to have a semester in the city? I would love to have a semester in the city. So like, I just checked it out. The design director, Ken Calhoun, was like super for it, really pushed me to like, you know, do it. So like I was into it and, you know, loved it. Great opportunity.
You also have done photography for a hair care brand called Early Essentials. So what is this brand?
Yeah, I mean, Earthly Essentials is really cool. It's POC owned, or Black woman owned specifically. And yeah, they just offered organic and natural alternatives for like, you know, black hair care. It's so, you know, hard to like, you know, find like, you know, good hair care, especially for like, you know, people with, you know, difficult to manage textures. So initially I was just so, you know, happy to just be involved in that. So yeah, I did all their early photography, graphic design, and just for like, you know, their initial startup, and I was really happy to do it.
And how did you find this opportunity?
I was actually plugged in by a friend of mine, Anna Nixon, who was actually, you know, used to go here. So it was just cool to like, you know, have connections like that to, you know, plug me in already.
Yeah. So you've also done photo shoots for multiple companies, obviously, we've seen, but also for a streetwear brand called Rev Label.
Yeah.
What was the best part of doing that?
It was a lot different because it was client-based, and, you know, I've already done like client-based work like that, but clothing specifically, you know, I love clothing. So it was like a pleasure to work with, you know, a clothing brand. But the best part about it was just the people behind it are so cool. They were like, you know, I'm used to like, you know, managing my own shoots and, you know, doing all the creative direction, you know, all that. And they were just like, you know, so willing to like, you know, let me I guess, let me get my vision out there. Obviously, like through their lens and through their like company's lens, but they were like, yeah, just like do your magic, and you know, I was really blessed to be a part of that.
So we talked about how you got into graphic design, but we've also just talked about all this photography that you've done. So how did you find an interest in that?
Photography specifically, back in high school, I used to be involved with like all the skater kids, and their pastime was like taking photography or quote unquote bexing, and that's like going up on rooftops and like finding like strange locales to like take photos and stuff like that. So I learned from them a lot of like my early stuff was from them, but it wasn't until recently that I got my own camera and took like photography as like a course here. And yeah, also managing director or managing photographer for our studio, Matthew Surth, really put me on. My roommate, great guy, taught me a lot about photography.
Awesome. What else are you involved with when it comes to Lasell?
I am a part of Tarnished. I helped with their last issue. I did a lot of the layout and publication, which was so cool because, coming here, and initially I love publication design. And I did a lot of work for them. Pathways to Diversity, which is helping, mentor low-income community or kids and in low-income communities. So like that's a blessing. Yeah, just showing like kids like another opportunity or another avenue that they can enter in is like so cool to me. Also, Graphic Design League. It's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah. What advice can you give to people that want to get into photography or graphic design? And how can they find these connections that you've talked about?
That now connections is more involved with just like going outside your comfort zone and just speaking to like just people. Photography and graphic design, that's more along the lines of just being willing to fail. You hear that a lot, but a lot of your stuff, especially like when you get involved and you start like looking at a bunch of like really cool pictures, you start finding like cool inspirations and things like that, which I super absolutely encourage you to do, especially as a creative. Definitely like research, find what inspires you. It's only going to make you progress and like want to get better. But definitely be encouraged to fail. All of your early stuff is not going to be as cool as you want it to be, especially like when you start looking at other people's cool stuff. But definitely be willing to fail.
You've recently branched out into videography as well, and so now you do videography, photography, graphic design, kind of all of it, all the creative stuff. And you've created a brand through this that's called PRSC. What inspired you to create this?
PRSC started my freshman year. I had a really cool teacher, and it was like through that she like she had a project. It was where do you want to be in like 5 years? I was like, I want to be like my own, or the leader of my own magazine publication company. And throughout research, I was looking up different names, and I stumbled across like PRSC, which is like a measurement of time and space. And yeah, since then, it's been my freelance, I guess, umbrella company that I like put all my work under.
And what are some projects that you've done?
So recently, I just did my commercial, which was sort of like my coming out party for PRSC. And also, I have a new project coming up called Visions of Us, which I'm very excited. It's supposed to be like, an encompassing project of all my different influences, inspirations, work. So videography, I'm trying to be very inclusionary of like, new typography elements, and yeah. And also just be inclusionary of like, different individuals that typically wouldn't be put into like, these roles. So like I do have like a couple of my friends who are, you know, people of color, also specifically Black women, who don't really get, you know, put into these like, you know, cool roles as you know, in my experience, you know.
Do you hope to continue with this company once you graduate? I mean, you have a year left at Lasell.
Mm-hmm.
So after you graduate, do you intend to continue with this and make it bigger, grow it?
Yeah. I mean, aside from like just media and, you know, just like creating creative content, I really hope to branch this out forward and, you know, help like, you know, mentor youth. And one of my biggest goals is to like really get Adobe products and other, you know, creative outlets into a lot of these people of color communities. Because when I was like growing up, you know, I didn't have any of these things. I only had like that one person who was just like, whoa, you do that, you know. So like my biggest thing I would love to like be a part of that, or like, you know, help illustrate that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. It seems like community is very important to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where can people follow you to stay up to date?
Terrence Theus, TERRENCETHEUS. That is it, on Instagram.
Okay, and is there anything else that the viewers should know about you, about PRSC, about graphic design, anything in general, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really thoughtful about like all the work that I put into, you know, everything that I do. So yeah, if you want someone, you know, who like just cares about the work that he does, you know, hit me up. Hit me up, you know. I really put some time into it.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining me, Terrence. It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
And this is all for this episode of Between Two Torches. I'm Elliette Barrows, and thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow LCTV on all our social medias, and I'll be back next week for a new episode.
It was really nice to meet you. You really look terrific, doesn't she? You know, not only do you look terrific, but you dance terrifically. I mean, Herbert thinks you dance terrifically, but he's so good. Well, you know, the funny thing is that we've always talked about having black people. But I mean, now that you're really here and everything, it's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, Heather.
One time I went to flip. Reality ahead, a vinyl crackle, get a spinal tap. You might could probably find this guy intact. Oh, it's the science jack. I'm in the lab, we getting high and cracking atoms, iron smashing, whiz ripping, breaking iron shackles. Breaking iron shackles. Whiz ripping, breaking iron shackles. This the Mayan factor. Let the mandala's inside affect you. It's the side effect. The Mandela's riddle. I'm dissecting. It's the kind of wreck the villains catch on the universe. Slick if I finesse, I might could get God to do.